Alright guys, this is our lesson on sight reading. It's kind of a preliminary lesson before we actually get into the sight reading with the staff and everything. I think it's really important. I think most of you that are watching these videos have had piano lessons and you feel like you're not as good a sight reader as you should be, or maybe you feel you failed at it and you're just not a sight reader at all. Maybe you've just given in to the fact that maybe you're just someone who plays by ear and can't read notes and is never going to be able to. And I'm telling you that is absolutely not true. There are certain reasons why we end up the way we are, not being able to sight read, not being able to sit down and play through something that we like, even though it's just kind of an average level of difficulty. And these lessons, I'm going to put a whole bunch up. I'm not going to say how many there are right now because there's going to be tons more and more and more. But if you'll check my website, webpianoteacher.com, there are tons of lessons in this series on how to become a good sight reader. But first we must understand what happened so that we don't repeat the same mistakes, so that we don't stay in the same pattern of that we're in that's making us not a good sight reader. What I see, I've taught for 20 plus years, and I've seen this all the time, especially when I get a transfer student, a student from someone else who comes to me, someone who has a really good ear, someone who is really talented, and they just can't read notes. They just can't sight read to save their lives. And we're going to go into this here and understand what's going to be involved in this, okay? I promise you, if you try my series, I promise you, if you give me 30 minutes a day, you're going to be a good sight reader, okay? I know what to show you, and I know how to do it to make you a good sight reader. I used to be a horrible sight reader. I mean, awful. I could play anything, physically and by ear, but I was just a terrible sight reader, and I couldn't really understand why. And I managed to get myself out of that and retrain myself. And that's what I'm going to be doing for you in this series. So let's understand this principle right here of the reading level and the playing level. All right? We need to understand this because any understanding that we have about our situation is going to help us become better sight readers. Okay? So don't skip over this. Don't just skip over to the staff where we start the notes and everything, because this is kind of the foundational underlying principle that's going to help you get better at reading notes. Okay? So typically what happens, the reason for failure that I see a lot is that we start out as a beginner in our piano lessons. Maybe we have a good ear. Maybe we're talented. Maybe we go fast, and the teacher allows us to go fast and maybe to skip over all of this beginner, early, intermediate stuff that is so important, that takes 2, 3, 4 years to really master. And we skip over to this late intermediate or the advanced level, and we start playing things that we can play physically. We can do it. And teachers think, well, since they can do it, let's let them do it. But that is a great mistake, because right here is where we learn how to sight read. Okay? All these 2, 3, 4 years are very, very instrumental. And if we skip over that, if teachers let us do that because we're talented, because we can play by ear, because we can fool everybody into thinking we're really reading the music when we're just kind of smart, and faking our way through it and using our ear and getting by, we do that. We get into that pattern and we don't get what we need right here. Okay? So it's the teacher's job to hold you back a lot of times when you're a youngster or when you're an adult starting lessons. It's all the same. We all learn the same way, okay? So these lessons will work if you feel like you've failed at sight reading. We're starting over. They'll also work for you if you have never taken piano lessons and you want to learn how to sight read music. For piano, they'll work for you that way too. Now, what happens is we all start out in the same place, okay? We start out here, knowing nothing. I have a little graph here. This is the time that we take lessons, the time that we're under instruction, and here is how good we are at our craft, if you will. All right, reading level is in black. The playing level is in red. Now, what I mean by reading level is how good you are at reading the spots off the page. Not talking about being talented, not talking about having a good ear, talking about you looking and seeing something on the musical page and transferring it to the piano. How fast can you do that? How quickly, how accurate can you do that? How good are you at that? And that's your reading level, all right? The playing level is physically, orally, what you can do. Can you play Beethoven, a Beethoven sonata? Can you play Maple Leaf Rag by Scott Joplin? Maybe you can physically do it. That's your playing level. That's how your prowess at the keyboard, you know, technical combined with your ear. That's your playing level. What happens is, when we first start out, it's at the same place. Okay? And our playing level gets better. Our teachers let us skip over things. They let us blow through pieces because we can hear what they're doing, and we copy it, and we memorize, and we just blow through it there, and our playing level just skyrockets while our reading level kind of stays right here and eventually levels out. Now you see how they go apart. The farther apart your reading level and your playing level are, the worse off you are. Because you're not going to be satisfied with playing easy pieces down here that you're able to read. You want to play cool stuff. You want to play stuff you like that's more difficult. And you can play it, but your reading level's down here. So the farther apart they get, the more frustrated you get. And eventually, there's a big line there. We just stop. We hit a brick wall as that goes apart. Okay, it's kind of like a football player. Let's say we have a good football player and they're getting stronger, faster, quicker, lifting weights, getting better at their craft. But they don't know how to run plays. They don't understand the play. They can't get any better in their knowledge, in their head, on the field. And that becomes farther and farther apart. It doesn't matter how much ability they have if they can't run the play, if they can't follow the instructions of the play. Same thing with your piano playing. We need to get these together. We're going to have to go back and make this black line more in line with this red line. We have to raise your reading level to where it is with your playing level. And we're going to go back and we're going to retrain you to do some of the things you should have done a long time ago. Okay? And I want you to understand this. Always keep this in mind. Reading level and playing level. Reading level is what you can read through. However easy that is, that's your reading level, where you can just get through it the first time without too much trouble. Playing level is what you can physically do. It's possible to have a playing level really high and a reading level really high. That's where it's really fun, because you don't have to spend a lot of time sitting there trying to learn things and memorize them because you can't read the music. All right? In our next lesson, we're going to learn how to change this and to get ourselves on the right track.